right now, I have a very special guest joining me. It's Cheryl Brown. Her son witnessed this incident. Police have spoken to her son. And from my understanding, we learn a lot. Let's go to Miss Brown, joining us from Florida. Miss Brown, thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Miss Brown, what does your son tell you he observed?
He left our front door to go outside and walk the dog, and he heard screams of pain and the words help coming from the backyard or the back area. So he headed that way, and when he got to the back, he saw someone laying down, facing the opposite direction, so their back was facing him. He watched them for just a few seconds. He says he thinks it was about 10 seconds, until the dog pulled away in the opposite direction. He went to go get the dog, pick up the leash, and he took a few steps back towards where he was when he could see the body. And before he could get back to that point, he heard the gunshot, and then he didn't hear anything else. There was silence.
Miss Brown, where do the screams help me come from? But where in that scenario do those screams fit?
He heard the screams continuously from the time he stepped out of the front of the house until he got to the back, and when he went to go retrieve the dog, he heard it the entire time. He has told investigators that he's not certain if the person on the ground was the person screaming or not.
Okay, with me is Cheryl Brown. And Miss Brown, I'm dissecting everything as quickly as I can. I'm going to ask you to tell me that again. But before I do, one question. Your son told cops the person on the ground was wearing red?
He did, if I can explain how that came about.
Okay.
Initially, one investigator, Sereno, interviewed him. When they first came to our house, they sat him down and said, "Tell us what happened." They were not recording what he was saying at that point. When they got to the description of the person, they asked if he could tell what race they were. His answer was no, it was too dark, I couldn't tell. They were facing the opposite way. They asked if he could tell the color of their shirt. And at that point, they gave him options. Was it black? Was it white? Was it red? I don't feel that they should have given him an option. I would think that would be something standard.
So he did tell police red when given the option. Miss Brown, I know police have spoken to your son. Do you believe that there are other witnesses police have not spoken to?
I'm not aware of that. I know that there are several of my neighbors who called into 911 and they have spoken to them, but I'm not aware of anyone that they haven't spoken to.
Let's go out to Alicia Adams, attorney for Cheryl Brown. You are a well-respected attorney in the same area where this happened. Alicia, what do you make of it?
You know, Nancy, this case is just filled with a lot of bizarre things. I think it's bizarre that my client, Austin, wasn't interviewed the night of this questioning. You know, typically when a case of this magnitude, the officers that are doing the investigation would naturally talk to anyone, especially anyone that called and dialed 911, and especially anyone that was an actual eyewitness to some of the actual incident. Questioning him 9 days or 8 days after the actual incident is bizarre to me. You obviously would remember something the night of. The facts are fresh in your mind. Your memory is a little bit fresher. But to interview him 8 days later, I thought was bizarre. The fact that the actual state attorney, came down and was actually involved the night of the incident, I also think that's bizarre. Of course, seeing these new release tapes with no blood, no Band-Aids, when George Zimmerman is saying that he was, his head was smashed into a concrete, I think that's bizarre. You know, it's disappointing. I think that there's more than enough probable cause to make an arrest on George Zimmerman.